What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing a beer from the North Coast Brewing Company, and they're out of Fort Bragg, California, and this is their Old Rasputin. So this is a Russian Imperial Stout that comes in at 9% alcohol by volume, 75 IBUs at the time of review. This bottle is just under 4 months old. So to me, this beer is an American classic. I think they first started brewing this one back in the mid-90s, and so it's 25 to 30 years old, and this is the first ever Imperial Stout that I ever had in my life. And I absolutely loved it. I think it was back in 2010 I had this one, and I couldn't believe the flavors I was tasting. I was like, holy shit, where has this been all my life? And I've always enjoyed this one. It's been a long time since I've had it, and that's because their distribution has kind of dried up here in the Buffalo, New York area. When I went on a recent trip to Rochester, New York, hit up a couple of bottle shops and beer stores, and I saw this one. I was like, I haven't seen that in a while, so I grabbed it, and I thought it'd make for a great review because a lot of you out there have had this one. Maybe you haven't, but this is a classic to me. Just such a good beer. I'm hoping that it's still delicious. I mean, my palate has changed a lot since I've last had this one, but at the same time, like a good Russian Imperial Stout, I still really like. So anyway, let's give it a pour here. Yeah, so this isn't pouring out like super thick and viscous and like motor oil. It has like more of like a cola kind of look to it, but in the glass. Looks beautiful. Do something like that. A little bit of more of aggressive pour there at the end. Throw this over here. I just remember, they do have a little spiel here, very generic, so I will read it real quick. It says, brewed in the tradition of the 18th century English brewers who supplied the Russian court of Catherine the Great. It says, Old Rasputin develops a cult following wherever it goes. It's a rich, intense brew with big, complex flavors and a warming finish. Very generic tasting notes, but that leaves it up to you to decide what you're tasting, what you're getting at, and that's what I like when it comes to tasting notes. Very generic. Anyway, yeah, that's pitch black in the glass. On camera, I know it's going to look that way. In person, it does. Has about a 2.5 finger of this like mocha-colored head. Very creamy looking. Looks beautiful. Looks like it's just a beautiful Imperial Stout. Let's get a nose. Yeah, that's the good stuff. Oh, man, there's just... Now, this was in my darker beer fridge, 52 I always keep it at, and I grabbed it maybe like 10, 15 minutes beforehand, so this is probably in like 55, 58 range, something like that. I don't know if they actually say what temperature to drink it at. What I like to do, and unless I, want to edit videos and like spend a lot more time than I do currently, I like drinking beers like this right out of the fridge and then drink them over like the course of an hour, let them come to room temperature, and you taste it and understand what temperature you enjoy it at. But when I do a review and it's a darker, big, complex beer, I know the cold can hinder the taste, so I like to drink these more in like the 55 range, sometimes 60, and that's kind of where this is right now. So let's get another nose on it. Yeah, so it's big, roasted, almost ashy type of malt sensation in the nose, and that's the thing where I think a lot of people, when it comes to Russian Imperial Stouts, they might not like that big, bold malt character is more like it seems more bittering than it does sweet. And that's kind of what you're getting here. Baker's chocolate, right? A bit more of a bittering chocolate. There's coffee. But what I always liked about this, and the first thing that I remember smelling in this, was the dark fruit component. To me, I get like a black grape. I get, I get like a dark grape. I get like a sweet, no, I shouldn't say sweet, just a black, like maybe an underripened black cherry. So not overly sweet. It's just, I love the dark fruit component in this one. What else is that? A little bit of molasses and like caramel and toffee, slight though. And then there's this earthy bitterness that I'm perceiving that I had, having this so many times before, I kind of remember how this tastes, and on the back of the palate, you get that nice earthy kind of lingering bitterness. This smells to me what a Russian Imperial Stout should smell like to myself, right? Because this is the first Imperial Stout period I had, let alone a Russian Imperial Stout. And it's one of those beers where like it's bringing back memories, good memories of having this for the first time, and just, I remember smelling it for like 5 minutes and just going, what the fuck? I don't know what I'm smelling, but it smells awesome. Yeah, this just smells like a classic fucking Imperial Stout. Really nice. A little bit of a mocha, like a mocha vibe, but not overly sweet. Man, yeah, anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. I needed this today. The reason why I needed this is because, I try to mix up what I review on my channel. I do the heavily fruited sours and, the hazies and the pastry stouts and, doing more lagers and whatnot. But I need something like this. Just a beer to remind me of what like Imperial Stouts should taste like, just well brewed ones. This is, to somebody who likes sweeter beers and are into all the crazy styles, I can't imagine you grabbing this and be like, oh, that's delicious. It's too bitter. It's too harsh and brash, I think, for somebody who doesn't enjoy these styles to kind of... I feel like this style especially is like an acquired taste, more so than beer in general. The body is lower side of full. It's 9%. I didn't think it was going to be straight full. And I don't remember this one ever being straight full. But it's like lower side of full. Maybe higher side of medium, but more lower side of full. It's thick enough for what I'm looking for. The actual mouthfeel is better than I remember it. It's carbonated, because it should be. But man, is it smooth and like almost creamy on the finish. I don't remember it being like that. Maybe it wasn't. I just didn't care about body and mouthfeel when I was drinking for the first time. I mean, I wasn't reviewing beers. I wasn't sitting here trying to break it down. I was just tasting it and going, man, I never had an Imperial Stout before. What the fuck is this? That's what I was saying when I had it for the first time. I wasn't trying to break it down on camera in front of people, Body and mouthfeel are awesome. The taste, I mean, the nose carried over pretty much to a T. Right up front, there's a lot of complex malt characters. There's bittering chocolate. Like a baker's chocolate or like a 70 or 80% cacao bar, that type of bittering chocolate or non-sweet chocolate. Shout out to the motorcycle, just has to go crazy. There is, again, a little bit of molasses, toffee, caramel, things like that. And then there's this big roasted malt quality, slightly charred and like ashy. Again, if you drink these styles, or if you drank a Russian Imperial Stout, or you know what I'm talking about with these big like roasted kind of malt driven Imperial Stouts, that's what this is. And that's all at the front of the palate. Then after that, I get a little bit of dark fruit, more of like, again, a darker grape, almost like a darker grape skin, has like a tannic type of feel to it. And then like an underripened cherry, or just picture like a not an overly sweet like black cherry or dark cherry. It's kind of what I'm getting as well. Maybe a touch of like a figure a date, but not all that big. Halfway through the palate is where a little bit of sweetness pops in. I'm getting almost like a vanilla kind of, again, mocha thing, like vanilla coffee and the chocolate's all hitting. And there's a little bit of like a bump of the sweetness right in the middle of the palate. But right after that transitions into that earthy kind of bitterness. And that earthy bitterness is what kind of makes this beer for me when I'm looking for it, because it's like front of the palate's kind of slightly bitter, middle of the palate sweetens up, and the back of the palate gets bitter again. So you go through, a wave of different kind of, the comparison between the sweetness and say a dryness. And in this situation, you're talking about sweet compared to a bitter. And the beauty about it is that I think this makes it lean a little bit more bitter and a little bit more intense of that roasty kind of bitterness and that earthy bitterness. And that's what I'm looking for in this style. If I pick up a Russian Imperial Stout, I feel like I want a little bit more of that, and I'm getting it here. Finishes semi to full on dry with a very firm, moderate to maybe a touch over moderate bitterness. So when I pick up a Russian Imperial Stout, that's what I want at this point. I'm not saying it's necessarily correct. I mean, Russian Imperial Stouts, from what I know, is like they can range from like not a lot of bitterness to like really brash. I know the American ones that I've had have usually had that roasted kind of cherry malt and then an earthy bitterness. So I feel they're kind of higher when it comes to the bitterness level. 9%, I cannot tell. There's no, this is the beauty of this beer. This is an older school beer, and a lot of older school beers, you could taste and perceive the alcohol. I cannot on the palate. There's no warming in the chest. There's nothing on the palate. The only reason I know this is bigger is because I know what I'm drinking here is an Imperial Stout, just based on the body, the mouthfeel, the flavors. But like the alcohol does not step in the way. It's not a big boozy monster at 9%, and I can appreciate that, and I actually welcome that. There's too much else going on for that kind of being a distraction. Maybe the alcohol is bringing in a little bit more of that dryness. I don't know. I just think this is a fucking excellent. This is probably a world-class Russian Imperial Stout. Just be honest. It's a world-class Russian Imperial Stout. Plain and simple. But I'm not going to give it a 5 out of 5 because, again, as much as I love this beer, it's not a 5 out of 5. Stylistically, I think it's up there, if not a 5 out of 5. So I got to be, honest with my rating, but this is still fucking top notch. I remember the first rating I ever gave this because I think I was doing ratings at like Beer Advocate back then or something, or maybe I had an Excel spreadsheet at one time, and I was just putting in all the ratings of each beers out of 5 because I'm a fucking nerd before Untapped and everything. I gave this a 4.75, so there's no reason to change it. So Old Rasputin from North Coast, that is, my friends, a 4.75 out of 5 all day long for me, and it always will be. Again, it's the nostalgia factor, definitely, but at the same time, I just think, there's not a lot of pure Russian Imperial Stouts anymore, and I think this is like the classic example of an American brewed Russian Imperial Stout that is just fucking delicious. End of story. I've had some of the barrel-aged Old Rasputins, and one was like infected. The other one was pretty good, but I still just prefer the OG. Price and availability, price point on this. Here's the thing. Again, I haven't seen it in a while here in Buffalo. I haven't been looking all that hard, but I haven't seen it personally. But I picked this up at the, was it AJ's Beer Warehouse in, I think I made it by AJ's Beer Warehouse in Rochester. And I think I paid $3.49 for that bottle, and I think 4-packs were like $12.99. So $13 a 4-pack for a 9% Russian Imperial Stout. This great, fucking great deal. Availability, I have no fucking idea with North Coast. We see more of their fruited sours. Like the only beer I reviewed on the channel from North Coast a couple years, maybe 3 years ago, I did like their tart cherry Berliner Weiss. A couple of those have shown up. You can get their old stock, which I still have to review that, and maybe 1 or 2 of the barrel age. But like, I don't see this beer that much anymore. Don't see any more of the barrel aged version. So I don't know if this is kind of going by the wayside, but it's a fucking classic. If you've never had it before, and you love like bitter Imperial Stouts, give this a go. Like, fucking, if you haven't drank it and you like those, what are you doing? Pick it up. Anyway, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. I'm sure a lot of you have had this one before. I really like it, obviously based on the score. So yeah, I need to pick it up more often for sure. Anyway, I'm happy I reviewed it. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.